Sammy Sosa, a man many consider as one of the main men who saved baseball in the late 90s. His home run chase with Mark McGwire will always be legendary and looked back at fondly, even with the fact that the two are on steroids. He's a Chicago Cubs legend. 545 home runs, over 1,400 RBIs, and OPS over 920. That was what Sosa accomplished over the 12 years he played in the north side of Chicago. Cinema. But what was also cinema was the whole steroid scandal and how that impacted baseball forever. It's one of the more iconic eras in sports history, but as a result of Sosa being involved with it, along with other things, he and the Cubs haven't had a good relationship for 20 years. He ended up playing a few more years after his last with the Cubs before officially calling it a career, but since 2004, the Cubs have basically disowned Sammy Sosa. But it's not for the exact reason you probably think. Really quick, as always, if you're part of the 59% of viewers not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button if you enjoy the videos, as Sammy Sosa just released an apology statement and will effectively be welcomed back by the Chicago Cubs with open arms after being estranged from them since 2004. Just like a lot of the steroid users, it was never proven that he did it, but we all know that he did. Sosa was one of the players who testified at the Capitol in 2005, and during that testimony, he made a statement in Spanish, which many people got on him for because he very well knew English and had publicly spoken it before, like a lot, but it does make sense in this scenario to have his initial statement and his native language. Considering he was under oath, he's got to be careful with his words. But what he did say in Spanish was deny any steroid use. Well, sorta. What he said was, quote, "To be clear, I have never taken illegal performance-enhancing drugs. I have not broken the laws of the United States or the laws of the Dominican Republic, and I have been tested as recently as 2004, and I am clean." Think carefully about what you just heard. All of those statements allow for the possibility that Sosa used substances that were legal in the Dominican Republic that would have been illegal to use in the United States. So he walked a very thin line here with those words, but it didn't take him out of the controversy. There was a list released in 2009 of players who had tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs in 2003 that Sosa was on, and like I said, since even before that, the Cubs had distanced themselves from Sammy Sosa for 20 years. But that ends now. Sosa just released an apology that the Cubs quickly accepted, so quick to the point this had to be some sort of coordinated thing, unless there's some person the Cubs have hired and have had hired for 20 years waiting for this moment so they were ready for whatever he apologized. But the apology was interesting. Here's what it said. "I left it all on the field for the Cubs and Cubs fans because I wanted to win and make the fans happy. I love to see the fans at Wrigley and the right field bleachers every home game. I understand why some players in my era don't always get the recognition that our stats deserve. There were times I did whatever I could to recover from injuries in an effort to keep my strength up to perform over 162 games. I never broke any laws, but in hindsight, I made mistakes and I apologize. We accomplished great things as a team, and I worked extremely hard in the batting cage to become a great hitter. Cubs fans are the best in the world, and I hope that the fans, the Cubs, and I can all come together again and move forward. We can't change the past, but the future is bright. I have always been a Cub, and I can't wait to see Cubs fans again. Sincerely, Sammy Sosa." To which Cubs owner Tim Ricketts said on behalf of the team, "We appreciate Sammy releasing his statement and for reaching out. No one played harder or wanted to win more. Nobody's perfect, but we never doubted his passion for the game and for the Cubs. It's an understatement to say that Sammy is a fan favorite. We plan on inviting him to the 2025 Cubs convention, and while it is short notice, we hope that he can attend. We are all ready to move forward together." So the two are cool now, but look at Sosa's apology. He never explicitly apologized for any steroid use. He brought up that he never broke any laws, just like he said at the Capitol almost 20 years ago, but he did apologize for quote-unquote mistakes. So what does that mean? Well, it means Sammy Sosa isn't apologizing for his steroid use. But here's something else. I don't think the Cubs were ever asking him to. A lot of people have been saying the Cubs are and have been in the wrong here for expecting an apology when they did nothing all those years Sosa was on steroids making them money. What apology does he owe them? Well, they have wanted an apology all these years, but it was never about the steroids. It was more so some of the other actions and the way he treated others at times. When you read about what Sosa was like, it's clear he was a bit of an asshole, at least at times, kind of like Barry Bonds or most stars at that time. Most steroided stars especially. And I mean, when you hit more home runs than anybody in the world, yeah, you're going to probably have an ego. The steroids don't help either with that, and he apparently also wasn't the best teammate. Also sounds a bit like Barry Bonds and A-Rod, and yeah, I feel like most of the big steroided guys were assholes. Doesn't make it right, but I think this is what Sosa's apology was really about. The biggest incident that we at least know about happened at the very, very end of Sosa's Cubs career, so it paved the way for this 2-decade-long stretch of the Cubs expecting an apology. The ending to Sammy Sosa's Cubs career was an uglier ending than No Country for Old Men's ending. God, that movie just ends too abruptly. There was no closure. Anyway, here's what happened. Right before the final game of the 2004 regular season, one that was meaningless at that point as the Cubs were not going to the playoffs, Sammy Sosa snuck out, just straight up left, fired up his silver Range Rover and drove right out. A Cubs veteran, who might have been Kerry Wood, but I'm not completely sure, took a baseball bat and smashed Sosa's boombox in the clubhouse. A boombox that Sosa had for years that teammates apparently resented because he always blasted it, as it was kind of Sosa's way of showing everyone he's the man of the room, so he smashed it. But here's where things really got bad. Sosa lied and said he didn't leave, only for the Cubs to pull out the receipts with security cam footage showing him leaving early. They got bro in 4K, and before the 2005 season, Sosa was traded to Baltimore. So that's really what this is about, not the steroid use. Yeah, the Cubs not saying anything or expecting an apology when he was making them all the money in the world while on steroids, only for them to say, bad Sosa, and expect him to apologize for taking steroids would be wrong. But it was never about that. They don't care about the steroid use. Nobody seems to, at least not anymore. Especially considering, Sosa was obviously far from the only guy on the juice. But he did make some mistakes in other ways during his playing days, like he said in his apology. And, well, this is finally all over. After 20 years, the two parties have reconciled, and Sammy Sosa's return to Wrigley Field next season will be a memorable day, to say the absolute least. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.